So, Haley Show, I'm excited first to welcome my co-host, Frank Fiore. Frankfiore.com. Frank, I know you're excited. We've really had a business theme today, haven't we, sir?
Really busy, but yeah, the good
Business.
people out too with good
Yeah,
information.
yeah, some great information. So our guest today is Gordon Stein, and he's going to teach us how to build wealth, but also cook as well. I'm going to be interested and intrigued by it. But go ahead, Frank, with your first question for Gordon,
Yeah,
and play and music like Paul likes. But go ahead.
Great.
good. I'm a drummer myself, so yeah, I have one set up right here. Anyway, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I was an executive in the high-tech industry, companies like Apple and Dell for a lot of years, and always interested in personal finance. And so many of my staff members would say, hey, how do you build wealth? How do you get money? So people really struggle with their finances, getting to a place of financial wellness. And I was going down that road, in the high-tech industry, and then I made this discovery. It sounds crazy, how to get car washes for free. And that started this whole thing, saving $25 a month. Then I found out how to reduce the cost of my home alarm monitoring, started building a list of all of these ideas, and the list grew to $13,000 a monthly savings. The whole idea being minimal effort, minimal sacrifice, giving up absolutely nothing. Use that money to pay down debt and grow your wealth. It's phenomenal.
Wow, that's amazing. And when you figured that out, what types of things should you be going ahead and investing in with the money you're saving?
Well, that's another whole question. So first of all, people have a lot of debt. That's usually a big priority. About 60% of Americans currently carrying credit card debt all the time at 25, 29%. That's a five-alarm blaze. That's a no-brainer. Got to get rid of that debt. After that, then you want to be investing. And I think the smart thing for most people is to work with a wealth advisor to really build and grow that wealth responsibly.
Okay, good, Frank.
Yeah, but don't you find that people don't start thinking about their future, what kind of money they're going to have? Sometimes as late as in their 40s, late 30s and 40s. How can they catch up?
Well, it's easily done. Yeah, no, that's very true. And people don't want to give anything up. And the whole beauty of Cashflow Cookbook and my approach is don't give anything up. I want a nice guitar, I buy a nice guitar. But I slashed my electric bill by $100 a month. I knocked $200 a month out of my car and home insurance. These are all simple things that people can do. I lay out 60 of these ideas as recipes. They're like financial recipes, so there's no actual cooking meal going on, but they're like recipes. They're simple 2-page vignettes. Here's the steps. Here's exactly the moves to make. And most people can free up $1,000 to $2,000 a month, giving up absolutely nothing.
Wow.
Now,
And just seeing, good.
I used a strategy in my younger days when we were first married. We had credit card debt, and the strategy I used was that I would say if I had 4 credit cards, I would take the one that's the lowest, pay the minimums on the other 3, and just pay down as quickly as possible the one that's the lowest, and do the same strategy as went up. And so instead of trying to deal with paying just the minimum on 4, you pay the minimum on 3, and the lowest balance one, that's the one that you work on. And before you know it, you got one card gone, and then the next card, and the next card. So yeah, you strategize with your money.
Yeah, it's a great idea. But if you can add another $1,000 or $2,000 a month to the strategy you just talked about, Frank, wow, that debt gets paid down in a big hurry. Then we start taking that same money and applying that to growing our wealth. What do
you kind of look at for wealth growth? What are your
in terms of investing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really difficult to beat the S&P 500 over time. So this is just a basket of the stock market in a nutshell. Lots of ways to do that with low cost exchange traded funds. And if you look back over history through wars, through 9/11, through all presidential elections, the whole bit, the S&P 500 has grown about 9% a year. So there's no need to get fancy. That's a great place to start. Things like Vanguard, VTI, or VOO, those are simple exchange traded funds. It's Warren Buffett's methodology. As you start to get more sophisticated, you got to think about taxes, you've got more wealth. Then I think it's really important to be working with a wealth advisor, once you get beyond, say, a couple $100,000.
I remember talking to a broker when I was young, in my late 30s and early 40s. And I said, which fund should I get into? And which grows fast? He said, look, I want you to go put your money in a no load mutual fund and hold those stocks until you get a long gray beard.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
That's it.
Really difficult to beat the market. Probably
Yeah.
70, 80% of mutual funds do not beat the market. So, a low cost exchange traded fund is kind of the great place to start, because a wealth advisor probably won't work with you when you have $50,000. So I would build it up to that point. Then when you get up to say $250,000, then, get some help, get it professionally managed.
Right. And how do you like basically you do some coaching as well as a wealth advisor? Work with
Yeah,
people?
I typically, most of my work, Neil, is speaking to the clients of wealth advisors. So wealth advisors hire me to work with their clients, get them freeing up more cash flow, because there's a role for the client to play. Often the client's saying to the advisor, "What did you get me?" My friend's wealth advisor got him 7.8%. What'd you get me? Well, let's change that equation. Let's get the client freeing up more cash flow. That's his or her job, and the wealth advisor investing it. But for the average person, you follow the plan set out in Cashflow Cookbook. You bring up $1,000, $2,000 a month. You give up nothing, and your wealth is really starting to accelerate. Happy
And
to give you some examples if you
what,
want.
yeah, give me some examples. I'm ready.
Oh, sure. I mean, so many simple ones to start off. I mean, I made a few simple changes to my house, bit of weather stripping, some setback thermostats, knocked $100 a month out of my electric bill. And once you make those changes, I'm enjoying those savings every month forever. Some obvious ones: reshopping cell phone plans, home insurance, car insurance, life insurance. Often people buy something from their brother-in-law, a policy 20 years ago, their sister's now divorced, they're still with that same individual, and they're not getting the best deal. So got to get smart and shop those. Other things you can do, getting a little bit more inventive, a lot of people paying $200, $300 a month to their cable TV provider. A high def antenna costs about $100. And now you can get a channel guide with those. And then you're paying nothing once you spend $100. Say goodbye to the cable bill. Most people are on Netflix all the time anyway. But a high def antenna, now you're watching NFL games and a lot of things that you want to see. There's a super easy one: $200 a month. You see people with storage lockers, and people have these storage lockers for 10, 20 years. Usually the value of what's in the locker is equal to
Nothing.
2 or 3 months of rent. So they're pissing away hundreds of dollars a month for years. So just with what we went through very quickly there, that's about $1,000 of savings. You invest that at 7%, which is less than what the market's grown, and you do that over 30 years, you've got an incremental $1 million at retirement. This is a lifestyle change for all kinds of people.
Okay. Go ahead, Frank. What other questions do you have about?
Okay, in today's market,
Yeah.
how would you diversify? How much in bonds? How much in stocks? How much in precious metals?
Yeah,
How would
I
you
don't
do about that?
I don't have a huge focus, because I'll tell you something. If you can free up that cash flow, there's no move that any wealth advisor can do that's going to accelerate your wealth faster than you freeing up more money to invest. So that's the fundamental thing. I think beyond that, I mean, the focus should be on, the market in general. There's some additional themes that I personally am into now. AI is going to be massive. It's going to change things, and everything that comes with that: dramatically increased electrical consumption. So some of the power companies can be worth taking a look at. People need to do their own research. Copper. I mean, the world, we've got offshore wind farms. We've got, solar panels. We've got data centers. We're building another data center every 3 days here in the US. Copper is going to be massive. The forecast for that is astronomical. So I think there's the usual kinds of things: solid blue chip companies, not meme stocks, not social media stocks. But there's some clear trends that are going to emerge and become important over time. I think it's important for people to be on the right side of those shifts. That's really key.
And that's big. So where can people first of all purchase your book? It's Amazon, all those different places.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. So
okay.
on Amazon, there's the US edition of the book, there's the Canadian edition of the book. I do speaking engagements all across the US and Canada. And I also have a program where people can join me and we step through the contents of the book over a 5-week course.
That's fantastic. And other thing, and then when you're a wealth advisor, you recommend coming to you when you have about 50,000 already in you're investing by that point, right?
Yeah, most wealth advisors don't want to work with somebody who's got $50,000. Not really worth their time. There's probably no need at that stage. I would work on exchange traded funds, the broad US market over time. Build your wealth in the way that we're talking about, Neil. And then once you get to maybe $250,000, then it might be worth talking to a wealth advisor.
That's a wealth advisor. Okay. Well,
I think so.
appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Gordon. Appreciate it, sir.
A real pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a